Welcome back to Oscar's Garage. Today we're at ReFuel, which is a cafe just down from sort of Clumpton, which is sort of between Taunton and Exeter, just off the M5. And they've got a built, not bought meeting, and we've got lots of cars here. You can see we're buying S2000, Mitsubishi Evo, and we've got a nice purple Subaru there. And we're going to take a closer look at some of the cars here. Right, one of the interesting vehicles I found here at this ReFuel built not bought meeting is this VW Bora. Now, if you look at the front of it, it looks like any other VW Bora. But I've got the owner Trevor here to show us that it's a little bit different to what you would normally expect to see when we go back to the rear end. Thank you, Trevor, for talking to us.
No problem.
So, obviously we've got VW Bora here, but when we go further back, things change a bit. Tell us what it is.
It's a 2002 Bora, 6-speed, 130 PD at the front. But as we go to the back, it becomes a pickup and not a saloon.
So, is this something you created yourself, or is it a kit?
This is a kit I've imported myself from USA. Smith Performance build kits for various VWs, Audis and other types of vehicles. No UK agent, you have to bring it in yourself, so that does put a lot of people off with the paperwork side.
So is that like a, what, do you just get a big box of parts?
You get a big box of parts, and it's basically all the parts you need apart from the car.
So, so you got your VW Bora. Presumably, if you start cutting the back off without putting some strengthening in, things go a bit pear-shaped.
There's a lot of strengthening in there, although the actual monocoque is very strong without the strengthening. Obviously, between the B post and the C post where the rear doors were, there's a big brace, lots of other braces and shapes to keep it strong and it's a lot lighter at the back end anyway.
So running gear wise underneath, it's still the
exactly where Volkswagen intended, not altered, same wheels, same position, nothing's changed.
So bodywork wise, presumably you get these fiberglass panels and everything with it. Tailgate wise, is that part of the kit?
Tailgate is a Taiwanese copy of a Ford Explorer tailgate. Not the best, but we've worked it and it does work.
Okay, and the tail lights?
Again, Ford Explorer, again, Far East copies.
Okay, so as we discussed earlier, I know a little bit about kit cars, and you've obviously cut the chassis on this, which is always a bit of an interesting thing when you go to register stuff. How did you get on when you registered it?
I initially registered it in 2018. I told the DVLA what I'd done. I'd converted a 4-door saloon to a 2-door pickup. They were more concerned what I'd done with the parts that I'd removed. Was I building another car in the corner? I explained that I wasn't. After a lot of to and fro and a lot of photographs before and after, they issued me with a V5 saying it was now a 2-seat pickup.
Okay.
Unfortunately, 2.5 years later, they reviewed that and voided the registration, and I had to go through the IVA process, which I've now passed. I have a new registration number, age related. I have a new VIN number because it's of the nature of what I've done, and it's no longer called a Volkswagen, it's now a Smith Bora pickup.
Which is the Smith being the name of the
Smith
kit?
Smith being the guy who actually designed and builds the kits.
So from the car point, or from the VW point of view, components, when you went to IVA, was that all fairly straightforward?
They didn't like the idea that an amateur built vehicle, which is what they classed me as, still had airbags. I argued the point that airbags were fitted by Volkswagen and probably designed by Volkswagen at a cost, but I had to remove them because they're not permitted in amateur built vehicles. So therefore they came out.
So you took the airbags out, which made it less safe, and then you put it through IVA, they tested it.
And it was safe, deemed safe to go on the road.
Deemed safe, that seems absolutely...
And I did find very quickly that with the DVLA and the DVSA, you don't argue with them, you just toe the line.
You just jump through the hoops and go from there.
And there's no point in arguing.
No. Really nice vehicle, love it. It looks absolutely glorious, and it's obviously generated a lot of interest. Have you put many miles on it since you built it?
I would say I've done over the years 2018, so we're 5 years on the road now, probably less than 20. I alternate it with a car at home, does a week on the road, tip runs, moving selected rubbish in the back, and then the other car goes on the road for a week.
No, really good. I've never seen one in the flesh, and it does look a really nice kit. So brilliant. Thank you so much for talking to us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Trevor. Before we have a look at this lovely Trike, just your regular reminder to please click that subscribe button. We're getting loads of views, and our watch hours are brilliant. It's those subscribers we need. So please, if you could, just give us a click on that button. Doesn't cost you anything. So, Trike, these are a well-respected kit. Obviously, it's inspired by the very early three-wheeler Morgans. Quite often, I think they have Motor Guzzi engines now. I could be wrong, but it's a really beautiful homage to those early Morgan cars. And this one is beautifully turned out. The interior is really lovely, and just a real all-round nice car. Here at ReFuel, we're still picking up on some of the interesting cars, and this Model A has really caught my eye, and the owner, Jonathan, has agreed to have a little bit of a chat with us to tell us what was under it. Thank you for that, Jonathan.
No problem.
So, I'm not an expert on pre-war cars, as people on Oscars know, but I guess, right, this is a Model A.
It's a 30 Model A. It was produced for 4 years, from 29 through to 31, but this is a 30.
Okay. So underneath, what would this have come with originally under the hood?
It would have been something like a 3-litre 4-banger flathead engine with a 3-speed transmission and rod brakes and other excitements like that.
Okay, and I can see by its stance, it's probably not got that there anymore, has it?
No, it's got, the front went down, it's got an original front axle which has been dropped by about 3 inches. It's got a low spring. And the back is on different suspension completely, and of course it's got 4.5 inches out of the roof, so it is considerably lower than it should be.
And what have we got going on under the bonnet engine-wise?
The engine is a minuscule 2-litre Pinto engine. It was designed to do long distances, which it's done without having huge fuel bills, so it suits me just fine.
Have you done a lot in it mileage-wise?
Yeah, for a hot rod, it's done quite a lot of miles. It's been to Stockholm once. It's been to Malaga twice, Germany 2 or 3 times, and in between time France and various other places.
That is a lot further than most people would go in a car of this type.
Well, it's not that quick because the engine is not that. The ride is not brilliant, but the seat is comfy, so my wife likes it because the seat is comfy. But it's fine. It's never touch wood, it's never let us down. So.
And have you got any future plans for it?
This winter, I plan, as I have done for the last 12 winters, to straighten out the rear fenders, replace the front ones, respray it pretty much the same colour, but all one colour rather than a variety of colours it is at the moment, and put a big brake conversion on the front, and that's probably about it. I'll stop some of the oil leaks as well, I think.
But it's a really nice car, and I just love the fact you use it and you tour Europe in it. I think that's absolutely great. It's not, not a show pony. It's out there and used and enjoyed, which is what we love.
Yeah, no, it gets used regularly. It gets used for doing the shopping, for picking the grandson up, and anything else you would use the car for. It doesn't just get used at weekends, and if it needs to be, it lives outside. Yeah, it was designed to be used, and it has been.
Brilliant, love it, great one. Thanks, Jonathan.
That was anytime.
We're still at ReFuel, and we're having a look at this Moggy Minor, and you're going to say, hang on, Oscars, you don't do regular classic cars. Well, this isn't a regular Moggy Minor, and to tell us more about it, I've got the owner, Chris, here, who is going to show us what makes this a little bit different. So thank you, Chris, for talking to us.
Okay.
And we need to do the reveal of under the bonnet, because you haven't seen the Mongy Minor with this under the bonnet. And tell us what that engine is, Chris.
It's a 1.6 Orion diesel, fitted with a 5-speed Sierra Type 9 gearbox, MGB back axle, Marina disc brakes, telescopic shocks, Marina pedal box, servo, and clutch slave cylinder.
So it sounds like it's a nice comprehensive sort of upgrade front to back.
Yeah, it is.
How do you find that as running as a diesel engine in a classic car? Because it's obviously something, you know, with Mongy Minors we've seen Pintos, E-Techs, V8s. I've never seen one with a diesel engine in it.
No, it's brilliant. It's fantastic on fuel. You get about 60 miles per gallon. It's reliable. It's only let me down once, and that was the ignition switch, which my mechanic Mark Wake has kindly done for me again. It's just brilliant. And fuel-wise, I've just put 14 quid in it in Ilminster, and he's still on full.
That's brilliant. I really like this because from the outside you wouldn't know it was hiding a secret like that, and I think that's a really good.
I think that's why the bloke done it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's been on a jig, you know, on a rotisserie, because everything's been done on it. I think it's taken him quite a bit of time. Sadly, the bloke's no longer with us, but I bought it off the bloke who sprayed it. And I never saw it. I just saw pictures of it and running the engine, and then I told my mate to go to Leeds to go and get it. It was a bit of a mad idea, but there again, that's me.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
I really like it, Chris. Thanks for showing us around it. It's appreciated.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Well, at ReFuel, a big crowd has just gathered when this car arrived, which really, you'd never seen anything like this. So we had to stop and find out more about it. And thankfully, the owner, Tim, here, and builder, has agreed to have a bit of a chat with us about it. Tim, what is it?
Well, it's the nearest I can get to a road legal slingshot Dragster.
Okay.
With an added extra seat for the missus.
So, what was your base? I see there's V12 on the side there. So,
the base is an old XJS that was rusted out.
Okay.
And that supplied the engine, the wiring loom for the ECU, the gearbox in the middle of the back axle, and then the rest of it is mainly Ford based.
Okay. So, chassis-wise, obviously,
that's from scratch, yeah.
From scratch, in your hands. So, yeah. all the bending, the welding is all down to you,
yeah,
is it?
That's all trial and error.
So
and bend it and rebend it.
So, from when you went, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to build a dragster for the road. To when you got it on the road, how long was that period?
It's about 10 years, but I was away for a few years working. So, and obviously, there comes points when you just want to leave it and walk away. So yeah, it was 10 years in total to get it on the road.
So you've got it up and running, got your engine in, and obviously you've got to come up with the thing that kit car owners fear, IVA. How did you get on with that?
Well, I downloaded the manual, which, as you know, is
quite thick,
about 280 pages or something, maybe more now, and tried to make every bit, look into every bit as I went along, and make it possible to pass. Obviously, a few bits have changed since, as they do, but it's yeah, it failed on about 9 bits, but it's only small stuff, so passed the second time, no problem.
And I guess it was a bit of a surprise when you pulled in on the day for your test, because they're used to seeing sort of imported cars, kit cars and so on.
Yeah, it was. He ran in to get his book and ring up the boss and things, but he's a good bloke, and you know, he's friendly, and just worked together, and it's all right.
And
not too bad.
Interestingly, up the back there, I noticed we've got a parachute going on. Is that actually functional? And does it?
Yeah, well, that's actually got a electric switch on the dash. Obviously, you have to undo the cover for it. When you press the switch, a little bit falls down and out pops the spring that pushes. It's a drone chute off a missile, I think.
Okay.
That's why it's got the military things. Obviously, don't need it, and I haven't used it, but it's for show, but it does work as well.
Oh, that was going to say, when your foot goes to the floor on the brake pedal, you've got a backup.
Got a backup, yeah, but you've got to be quick. And
And how long have you had it on the road?
about 4 years.
Okay.
But obviously, it was done just before lockdown.
Ah.
Just before it all happened. So the first year was very little use, and then the second year had a bit of use, and this last 2 years it's been out. So.
And have you done sort of many miles in it so far? Or?
Probably put about 2,000 miles on it last year. So.
Oh, okay.
And we had a few little teething issues, as you have, and renewed the radiators because I bought really cheap Chinese crap ones just to build it with.
Yeah.
And then forgot about it. And they blew up, so I put decent ones on. There's just little things like that, fuel pump, put a decent fuel pump on. But apart from those two issues, it starts first go every time. It's all running nicely, like.
Oh, cool. And the fuel tank I noticed sort of hung out at the back there. Is that something you made yourself, or?
That there is, if Carlsberg made fuel tanks, they would make the best fuel tanks.
I was wondering if it had come from that kind of source. That's really interesting.
With the some bits cut off the bottom and then polished up, and then I welded on there's a baffle in it, stop the fuel going side to side, and just welded the top bit on. And this is a bit from my mate's doorstep.
That's what we love, those bits and pieces that come together that are from different sources. Because intro, I noticed. Are you a plumber?
No, it's just a little light I've made for it because I thought it was something a bit different.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be. I didn't want to make something the same, obviously.
No, I
I want to
understand
make it
that.
a bit different. Well, a lot different.
Tim, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you about it. I'm just looking around. There's so much on this car that we could talk about, but I thought that was a great little overview for everyone to find out a little bit more about it, because it's obviously something that it must create quite a crowd wherever you take it.
It does, especially when you pull up next to someone at the traffic lights. They only see the front bit, so. And then they go, whoop.
So how long is it overall, end to end?
I think it's around 17.5 foot.
So you have to be careful in your choice of parking spaces.
Yes, it doesn't really fit in one of these new small parking spaces because it's wider. It's quite wide as well. It's added width on the drive shafts plus wide wheels, so it's quite wide.
But that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant, Tim. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Yeah.
And I hope you at home have really enjoyed this as well.